Hello, 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 and well, this is a rather special unit of the week, as this is number 208, meaning that we've been doing this bloody series since Wargame Red Dragon for 4 goddamn years. I've also been doing this channel for like 5 years now at this point, yeah, since I was like 16. Damn, that's a long time. That's a lot of unit of the weeks, a lot of casts, and it's just a lot of my time devoted to this. Really, I just want to say thank you very much, guys, for sticking around this long. I hope you still enjoy this weekly series. I enjoy making it, and I have no intention to stop anytime soon. So, cheers. And so, we're going to be taking the time this week to talk about those crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still have some use, even though they cannot deal direct damage to the enemy. Historically, those crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still have some use, even though they cannot deal direct damage to the enemy, were used as aerial artillery observers. These weren't the type of aircraft that would fly deep behind enemy lines and spot enemy factories and, you know, big strategic positions. No, they're used on a more direct, tactical frontline use. They'd fly towards the front line, they would spot enemy fortifications and positions, so they'd radio back to the artillery batteries directly, and the place would be blown up to Kingdom Come. These are very useful aircraft, as they're very cheap to produce, they're very lightweight, and they're very easy to train a person on how to fly, as they are extremely simple. Flying an artillery observer plane was a very dangerous assignment, as you had anti-aircraft guns and fighter planes and everyone on the ground wanting you dead because you're very easy to kill as you're on a crappy Cessna monoplane essentially, and everyone knows that, well, if this thing's flying around, we're about to have artillery drop on our head. We don't exactly want that. So it was a very dangerous assignment to be, well, flying one of these guys in a goddamn war zone. You know, towards the later stages of the war, for the Allies at least, he kind of had total air supremacy, which helped out quite a bit. These weren't just used as artillery observers. There are instances of using them to transport officers and generals around the front line. And also, in 1943, when a bunch of German paratroopers did a raid to save Benito Mussolini, a Storch was used to land on a very small runway to pick him up and take him back to the safety of Germany. In-game, those crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still have some use, even though they cannot deal direct damage to the enemy, are available to pretty much every single deck in-game. There's a few actually proper recon planes available to them, but for the most part you're using these crappy little Cessna things. So, there's not really much to say about them statistically, so we're just going to rate them in a top 5. That's actually a top 4 list. There's only 4 of each plane. So, without further ado, number 4, the Grasshopper. This is probably the worst run out of the bunch, as it's a bit more expensive compared to others. It's very slow. It's no Rosie. It doesn't have bazookas. And, I don't know, do you really want to be in a thing called a Grasshopper? It's not really a cool name, really. I mean, it's not really hopping around. You're flying. Making this number 4. Number 3, the Piper Cub. Yes, it's the exact same plane, but just with a different paint job. It looks cool, Leo. I mean, the brown paint job looks nice, and it has that French round door on the back. It also has a cooler name. I mean, a Piper Cub definitely sounds like, you know, something a bit hippie, a bit trendy, more than just a Grasshopper. Making this number 3. Number 2, the Ulster. This is the very first recon plane at 210 kilometers an hour. You can actually get somewhere in some reasonable amount of time with this. It's a bit more expensive. You are paying 10 to 5 points more compared to your other allied counterparts. But it's a very slick looking plane. It's more low to the ground. It definitely seems high speed, low drag. Number 1, the Storch. Now, Storch is the best out of those crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still use even though it cannot deal direct damage to the enemy, for, well, 3 major reasons. The first one being, it's got a really cool paint job. I mean, you got the muted greens with the muted blues. It's really quite a beautiful looking plane from an artistic standpoint. Speaking of an artistic standpoint, you also have a cool picture of a Storch on the side of the airplane. I mean, you're not going to be delivering babies or bombs or really anything. You're just going to be delivering information back to your dudes. But still, it's a really cool paint job, and more planes need cool paint jobs. I mean, there's no, like, shark teeth on any planes. I mean, that's probably for a historical reason, but, you know, paint job planes are always cool. And the number one reason is it's got a machine gun on the back. So even though the statement is crappy little recon planes that no one reuses, but still used even though they cannot deal direct damage to the enemy, it's not entirely true, because this can deal direct damage to the enemy. I mean, you got 1 HE and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, so maybe if you get, like, a headshot every time, you could potentially kill 1,000 dudes, but, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. But it's a machine gun, at least. I mean, it's a weapon, so it gives you a justification to buy it, so at least you have a weapon with a whopping 3 accuracy. And yeah. Sorry in battle, those crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still have some use even though it cannot deal direct damage to the enemy, are kind of a tricky buy. It's a very good debate whether you should take these guys or not, because let's just ignore the whole, like, you know, not taking a slot of an airplane that can deal direct damage. Recon planes are very useful, as they allow you to just spot everything, because they have very high optics, they can fly around, and they got a pretty good turn radius. You can spot all the important AT guns, artillery positions, etc. Extremely easy. Just bringing one of these guys out, you can counter battery artillery easily, you can see where the AT guns are, so you could artillery for your tanks to move up. Just having that information helps you so much. It's so bloody good. But the problem comes down to, for not taking these planes, is it uses up a valuable point slot in your air tab. And in your air tab, especially for a lot of decks don't have a lot of air tabs, it's kind of like Catch-22. If you play like a Panzer division or a tank division only has like 3 or 4 air tabs, you're probably not going to take all 3 or 4 to begin with, as you probably just want to focus more on ground units. And even then, you want to play fighters or, you know, something a bit more important that can help you control the air. Well, if you're playing like an airplane heavy deck, like 3rd Fallschläger SAS, you're not going to want to take a recon plane, because your whole strength really relies on airplanes, so you want to spend every single activation slot you can to give you more, you know, aerial HE and AP damage to control the skies and blow the shit out of the ground. So it's a kind of a hard thing to justify taking these crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still have some use, even though they cannot deal direct damage to the enemy unless it's a Storch. So, do you take them or not? The answer is kind of. I would, if you haven't used these guys, I would recommend experimenting and using them in some of your decks, as they can prove to be very well. For example, I've been given the Piper Cubs a go in the French Armour Division deck, and it works really well, bringing it out at the start of A phase, like right as the match starts. As when the match begins, the enemy doesn't have any AA, or really any airplanes, for the most part, anyway. Especially Axis on a 50 cals and all of their goddamn Shermans. So you can fly this around, and you pretty much have like a good few minutes of just being able to spot the shit out of everything, and you're gonna know where they're gonna be going, where they put their AT guns, and even though you're like, you know, not spending 50 or 60 points on a ground unit that could do damage, the information is priceless. So overall, these crappy little recon planes that no one really uses, but still have some use, even though they cannot deal direct damage to the enemy, are hit or miss. It's hard to justify, but you really got to give them a go, especially if you haven't used them. Yes, you got the cooler decks with the faster recon planes that can actually like get out of dodge, but these are not a bad choice. Some decks, of course, you're just not going to want to take them, but if you feel like you can, you know, spare the activation slot or point, just give it a chance. And well, I'm leaving off. Yeah, once again, thank you guys for sticking around for this long. I mean, 4 years is a lot of Unit of the Weeks, and hopefully make it to 5 years of Unit of the Weeks. That'd be number 260. I'll probably play Steel Division 2 by then. And well, I'm gonna shut up and leave it at that. It's been another Unit of the Week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as usual, please just take it easy.